Alright guys, I'm pretty late to the party with this one, so if you're looking for something fresh, something new or something unorthodox, then get the fuck out of here, because this video is going to be the same old 6-piece striker build that everybody has basically already uploaded to their channel, with maybe a few slight variations here and there. But yeah, that's all there's gonna be to it. So why am I even making this video in the first place? Well, that is because I've started streaming a bit more recently. And I've been doing a lot of solo play in the DZ, and instead of using the Nomad build that I created and uploaded on the channel a couple weeks ago, I have been using my striker build. Not because I think that Nomad isn't good. In fact, if you don't want to die, Nomad is probably the best set to go for. But I also feel like that Nomad misses that extra punch, the extra that you sometimes just need if you actually want to kill other players. Even with 8,000 firearms, Nomad just doesn't really hit hard enough in my opinion, and Striker, it does give you that extra punch, if you can keep the stacks at least. So naturally, because I've been playing Striker, everybody has been asking me what my build is, and why I'm not running with my Nomad build. So, instead of just explaining it over and over and over again, I decided to make a quick video that I can then link to people so they can check it out. And this is my solo player Striker build for patch 1.8. Let's begin. The 2-piece striker gives the player 20% stability, the 3-piece gives you 10% enemy armor damage, and we all know the good old 4-piece because that increases your bullet damage for every bullet that you land on an enemy. So every bullet that you hit, you get a stack, and every stack is 1% extra damage. It goes all the way up to 100%, but if you miss a bullet, or if you stop shooting, the stacks will also go back down again. That's how that works. And this extra damage is all weapon damage, just in case anybody is wondering. The stacks also get automatically removed when you exit combat, which is going to be a pretty important thing to keep in mind. And the stacks get paused when you get hit by an EMP effect, which is another thing that they've added with patch 1.7, I think. The 5-piece for the striker adds another 10% stability and 5% enemy armor damage, and the 6-piece adds a second type of stacks that works in the same way as the 4-piece, but instead of adding more damage, the player will receive more healing with his stacks based on his maxed health and the stamina amount on the build. Basically, for every 3000 stamina that you have, this healing gets stronger, which is why most striker builds hit that 6000 stamina or the 9000 stamina mark to get use out of the healing. 9000 stamina obviously gives you a much stronger heal. I'd say that this definitely gives you the most bang for your buck. But I'm running with 6000 stamina because I'll have a lot more damage this way, and really with this build, I'm looking for more and more damage. I want to put as much of my main sets into firearms as possible. However, what makes the 6-piece oh so powerful is that missing shots only reduces this bonus by 1 stack. This is opposite of what the 4-piece has. If you miss a shot with the 4-piece, it actually takes away 2 stacks from the player, but with the 6-piece it's only 1. And this makes it far easier to build up stacks during combat and to get more use out of both the healing and the damage bonus. It's actually not a strange thing to sit on 80 or 90 stacks during a whole fight, giving you a pretty strong passive healing over time, but also it gives you straight up 80 or 90% extra damage. And that is where that extra punch comes in that I was talking about that you're missing with Nomad. This is the reason why I'm running Striker most of the time now. I pretty much built my Striker build according to the best in slot guide, although I will say that instead of getting critical hit chance on my mask and on the mods, I did go for exotic damage resilience, which then put my total exotic damage resilience on 35%. Surely, I'm going to lose out on quite a bit of damage actually, because, you know, I'm missing the crit chance on the mods and the mask and all that stuff. But as I said, this is a solo build for the DZ, and when you're running solo in the DZ, you're going to have to fight a lot of players that run with Predator. And unlike Nomad, once you have that bleed on you, Striker is rarely going to save your ass, so you need a little bit of protection versus the bleed, and exotic damage resilience reduces the bleed damage. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that 35% exotic damage resilience is going to make you immune to the bleed, or that it won't be a problem anymore. Nah, the bleed is still going to be really strong, but at least this helps a little bit. You will not instantly lose about a third of your HP if somebody hits you with that bleed. This gives you a little bit more time to pop the support station or to pop a medkit, and it also gives you a little bit more time to get more value out of the healing from the Striker. You know, with 35% exotic damage resilience, the Striker healing has a little bit more time to compensate for the damage taken. That's pretty much the idea behind it. But yeah, let's go through the build real quick. First up, on the chest piece, I have held exotic damage resilience and ammo capacity. The mask has exotic damage resilience and burn resistance, and the knee pads have held burn resistance, shock resistance, and disrupt resistance. Now, the reason that I went for health on the knee pads and not exotic damage resilience as well is because the exotic damage resilience on the knee pads only rolls up to 8%, which is pretty low when you compare it to other rolls, so for example on the mods. On the gear mods, you also have a total of 16,674 health if you were to roll health on every mod. But the gear mods also give you 2.5% exotic damage resilience if you take it there, which then amounts to a total of 12.5% exotic damage resilience because, you know, there are 5 mods. So if you were to ever ask me if you should get exotic damage resilience on the knee pads or on the mods, it's an easy choice. It's 8% versus 12.5%, so obviously you're gonna go for the gear mods. The backpack has health and disrupt resistance as well. This is pretty standard. The gloves have critical hit chance, critical hit damage, and assault rifle damage, which is also pretty standard. And then the holster has another 4% crit chance. I already showed you the gear mods, so we can skip over those. But again, exotic damage resilience on all of them. And the performance mods are 2% pulse critical hit chance. My weapons are 2 near identical M4 assault rifles. Both of them have responsive and unforgiving in the first 2 slots. Responsive, of course, being one of the strongest damage talents in the game for assault rifles. And unforgiving being really, really good now that stamina is buffed back up, you know. Time to kill has been increased, so you're gonna get more value out of the 10% extra damage or even the 25% extra damage when falling to low health. But then, for the last slot, my primary weapon has Competent and then the other weapon has Fierce. Now, I mainly use the weapon with Competent, and I mainly use this at the start of a fight. I don't have a lot of skill power, but I'll still have my pulse or my support station ready, and combined with Responsive and Unforgiving, these 3 talents give you the most damage flat out in the game. But then my other weapon, it has Fierce, and I only use this weapon if I'm in the heat of a fight, you know, I'm almost about to die, I do not have time to reload my primary weapon, and I just have to swap out to the secondary weapon to quickly burst someone down. That's when I'll be using this weapon, which has Fierce. Now you might ask me, why not Competent, why not Adept, why not Vicious, why not any better talent, because Fierce is only 5% critical hit chance. But think about it, right? If I'm in a situation where I'm about to die, I probably am not going to have my skills ready, so Competent or Adept probably wouldn't be much of use to me, and if I'm in that kind of situation, I'm probably also not going to be above 2/3 of my HP. So Vicious is also not going to do much if I were to get it there. Because we also already have Responsive and Unforgiving on the gun, well, we don't really have that much damage talents left. I guess I could also go for Brutal, but I'm not always going to be at range to headshot people, so I figured that Fierce is probably the safest bet here. Now, one of the things that I did with these weapons as well is that I went for headshot damage instead of critical hit damage on the scope and on the muzzle when it comes down to modding my weapons. I would say that this is also more of a personal preference that you don't necessarily have to copy. I did this because basically we don't have a lot of crit chance on our build anyway, so I figured going for critical hit damage isn't always going to be that optimal for me, and headshot damage might be more of use. If you're on console though, or if you simply don't want to bother going for headshots all the time, then definitely still go with the critical hit damage. It's not bad, it's just, you know, personal preference, as I said. I also have the double barrel shotgun with Responsive, Predatory, and Determined on it. I've already explained why I have this in a lot of my videos, but this is just a thing that I can use to kill rep mobs, or I can swap to this weapon last second before getting the kill on a downed player, and then I'm gonna get some extra healing from Predatory and cooldown reduction on my signature skill, and that helps out a lot when you're playing solo. The skills that I'm using are the Conceal Pulse and the Immunizer, and I basically use these 2 skills on every DPS or every solo player build that I have. The support station is great if you just want to cleanse a bleed, or if you want to blow it up for some extra HP, because unlike the first aid, you can actually blow up the support station while shooting your gun. So this could really help you with that DPS trait. And then the Pulse, well, I think the Conceal Pulse pretty much speaks for itself. If you don't have that, then players with a damage pulse or groups with any pulse whatsoever are going to do a lot more damage to you, and you kind of want to avoid that with the Conceal. The talents that I have are also pretty straightforward. I've got Critical Save, Strike Back, On the Move, and Precision. Strike Back is especially good with Striker, because with the healing ticks that you get from the stacks, you might fall below and then go above your last health segment multiple times in a row during a fight. If you, for example, are healing up, but you're also taking bullets and then breaking line of sight and then healing up again and then falling to low health again. And in this case, Strike Back will proc 2 or 3 times in a row, giving you 60% reduced cooldowns on both of your skills, which is really helpful if you're fighting, for example, a Predator. You want to have that Immunizer back up faster, and I think that everybody knows by now why I'm running Critical Save, On the Move, and Precision. But yeah, that is pretty much the entire build for you. This is what I've been running in the DZ. You can build it differently if you want to. You know, this is not the only way to build it. You can go 9k stamina with critical hit chance everywhere, sure. If that's what you want to do, then go do it. But this is what's working best for me. I'm getting a lot of damage because I have a lot of firearms still, and I still have some protection from the bleed because of the exotic damage resilience. Now, I've got a couple of tips for you if you want to play it. With the first one being is that you have to try to start each fight with at least 30 or 40 stacks before you really commit to a damage trait. And the way you usually do this is by shooting the other players from a distance, then running away a bit more, and then waiting in a corner and then shooting them a bit more. Especially when you're the rogue player, people will come chasing at you. So use this to your advantage. Like, stay at corners, get some stacks, and then once you have about 50 or 60 stacks because you kept shooting them from a distance, then take the damage trait and you're suddenly going to hit really, really hard. Also, once you have your stacks and there aren't a lot of players around, but you know that players are coming for you, try to stay around NPCs on the map. Usually, of course, you want to fight away from the NPCs because they just keep shooting at you and you're going to fall to low health and it's going to be really annoying. But when you're running strikers, these NPCs are actually your best friends because you can not only use them to stack up on a lot of damage before actually fighting another player, but as long as you have a mob that is aggroed on you somewhere in the distance maybe, you will not go out of combat, which means that your stacks aren't going to go away, even if you're not fighting anybody. The damage that you take from the NPCs in the meantime, it's also not that big of a deal because, of course, you have your healing. You have your passive healing that you get from the stacks. So in many cases, do the opposite of what you're used to doing and hide in between the NPCs waiting for the other players to push on you. If you're lucky, the NPCs will even start focusing them as soon as they run up to you, and they've got to deal with the NPCs and you at the same time, which then helps out quite a lot. This is how I played quite often, and it's been working out for me. So yeah, maybe try this out for yourself as well. One last thing is that Striker also excels in long fights. Going head-to-head with Nomad players, yeah, you're probably not going to win that fight, but remember, you have more damage, and you also have more healing if you're on high stacks. So what you can do is you can try to proc his 6-piece, and then sort of avoid the Nomad player for 10 seconds until the all damage resilience is gone. And then after that you start fighting again, you should still have your damage stacks, you should still have your healing, and then the Nomad isn't going to be as dangerous anymore. Unless you got lucky, in that case you simply have to rinse and repeat. But you can really starve a Nomad player out if you play it right with Striker. But yeah, that is going to be it for me today. I don't have much to add that you probably haven't already seen somewhere else on some other YouTube channel. Again, this build isn't anything out of the ordinary, but in any case, I still hope that this was helpful. And for those that want it, I left you with a downloadable picture of this build in the description box down below as well. So you can just download that, or you can just screenshot the screen right now, whatever works for you. But as always, I will see you guys later. Or, like they say, in the Netherlands, zie je later.